In Memphis, nothing comes easy, and that's exactly how we like it. This is a city built on hustle, on heart, on grit. And at Carway, our rides are built the same way. Tough, reliable, ready for the grind. No games, no gimmicks, just Memphis-style service. Real, honest, and built on trust. Where grit meets grind, you meet your next ride. Carway, grit, grind, and Pink Beetles. In Memphis, we know a thing or two about resilience. From the grindhouse to the Delta, we protect what's ours. But when pests invade your home, it's time to fight back. Grade A Pest knows how to handle what crawls, flies, and bites. With local experience and guaranteed results.
I'm Reggie with Grade A Pest Control. We service the Memphis metro area. That also includes DeSoto and Fayette County as well.
Grade A Pest has the entire Mid-South covered. So if bugs and pests put you to the test, let Grade A solve your problem. From the heart of Tiger Nation, this is where the insiders talk. Real stories, real access, and the pulse of Memphis athletics. You're tuned on beat with BCM. Now, let's get to the show.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome to another edition of On Beat with BCM here on the Bluff City Media Network. I am Memphis Tigers men's basketball beat reporter for Bluff City Media, Roman Cleary, and I'm joined as always by our founder, owner, director of creative content, Kenny Stubblefield. And as you guys can tell, I'm a bit under the weather this week, but we're battling through it here because we have some Memphis Tigers discussions to be had, and Kenny is battling back from the big Jalen Wells interview on the Anthony Sain show today at Grind City Brewing. So big day for BCM. Shout out to Jalen Wells for coming on for, I believe it's the third time he's gone on with Sain there.
Yeah, so he's been on with Sain. We've had his dad on a few times. Yeah, just a really cool people, man. Jalen's awesome. He brought his future wife, his fiance, to the Grind City Brewing today. Got a chance to meet her, and man, just a really cool dude, man. Super fun. Stayed around after we got done for about 15 to 20 minutes and signed autographs and took a bunch of pictures, and there was a bunch of people there just wanting to see him, and yeah, it was dope, dude. It was really cool experience to meet Jalen. I'll say this to you, man. I know this is a Tiger podcast, so we won't spend too much time on it, but the Memphis Grizzlies are in really, really, really good hands with these dudes, these young kids, these young guys that are on the roster.
Yeah, that seems to be part of just the general excitement surrounding this this new core that the Grizzlies are putting together with Boozer, Cedric Howard, Jalen Wells. Not just like the talent that those three individuals have, but also just the characters off the court and how that contrasts with what we saw with, John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane. Not to say that all those guys were like problematic all the time or anything, but just the clear difference in like just maturity, how well spoken they each are, and just the overall mentality that they appear to be bringing to the table. It's a breath of fresh air in that way for sure. And so I know the excitement that Grizzlies fans have for that specifically, it's more than understandable. And Jalen Wells put that on full display today for sure.
Yeah, no, he's great. He was great. Shout out to Grind City Brewing, opening the doors up for us to come in. And I'll say this, man, like we have a really cool partnership with them. And they got one of the best compliments ever. When we posted the video or the flyer of Jalen Wells and Anthony Sain on the show today, The somebody came in and was like, "That AI slop is crazy," and I was like, "Well, that's a compliment to me because I made the flyer and there was no AI whatsoever to it. Like that, it didn't touch an AI, right? Like I made it in Canva, like." Um, and some Photoshop elements. And the person wrote back and was like, I have never seen a tap room look like that. Clearly, that's a fake AI, tap room. That no tap rooms look like that. And I was like, wow, what a compliment to Grind City Brewing, because I literally just got that picture off of their Instagram. And that was a picture off their Instagram of their tap room. That's what their tap room looks like. But yet it's so nice and so nice looking that apparently the non affiliated when it comes to Ground City Brewing think that it's AI slop. So shout out to them. Those guys they've built a really nice building over there.
Yeah, and BCM is not exactly we are not exactly adverse to using AI in certain situations. So
Hell no.
to to make those kind of compliments about something that was not made by AI,
Yeah.
I'd say that's pretty encouraging, right?
I'll say
And
this, man. I'll say this, Roman. It is crazy to me as somebody who spends a lot of time editing content and helping create stories and all that kind of stuff. It's what I do. Like I've done it for a very long time. And I recognize that there is a level of people that want that are purist in the field that they're in. And I have never seen like you all of a sudden now because of the escalation of AI and all those kinds of things. There's now the purity, the art purity guys are now out in full force and saying, how dare, like, I'm so tired of seeing AI be used to create art. And it's all coming from people that are artists. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like that's fine if that's your take. But not all of us are artists. Like I don't I don't know how to draw a straight line. Like my straight lines are crooked. Like I'm not an artist. I've tried. My dad is an artist. My dad's been an artist for I'm 45 years old. My dad's been an artist for almost 50 years of his life. That's what he's made his career as a independent graphic designer. It's what he does. My dad can draw better than anybody I've ever seen in my entire life, Roman. But guess what? My dad uses for his artwork now, for his graphic design company, he uses software. He uses Photoshop. He uses other Adobe software to create. Like he doesn't draw everything by hand anymore. It'd be too long, too slow. There's too much of a turnaround that's needed. He's very quick with it on Photoshop. And so my suggestion, and this is something that people can say what they want, but for those of you that are art purists that are saying people using AI who maybe don't know how to draw but have a creative thing inside their brain they want to get out and put out on paper, whether that's for a graphic or for a poster or for whatever it may be, like if you're really that much of a purist, then you need to stop using Photoshop. Like stop using your MacBook. Like go back to like picking up a pencil, using a ruler and drawing a straight line. Like everything that you do needs to be done by hand if you're that much of a purist. Like AI is a tool that is used to help people that maybe don't have the time and don't have the capability, but have the creativity inside of their brain that they want to get out onto a graphic. And so kudos to everybody who's using AI in a way that is putting things on digital content that's helpful to them, helping them grow their business, because that's what we use it for.
Yeah, certainly. Well, we do have a lot to get into today, and I wanted to start with basically a story that I dropped on Monday morning. That's basically centering around
Really good story.
The synergy and the real chemistry that Penny Hardaway and Charles Huff really seem to have. It all started obviously a couple of weeks ago. Really, well, it really started from the beginning, of course, when Penny stood front and center at Huff's introductory press conference and invited him out to practice the next day back in December. But it kind of kick-started again for real when Penny goes out to football practice and Charles Huff makes some real he gives some real praise towards Penny. going as far as to say that, nothing at the university can happen without Penny Hardaway and his staff because of just like the homegrown knowledge that they have and things of that nature.
Right.
And then Penny's asked about, Huff's compliments of him at TPC last week. He says, Coach Huff is my guy. I'm behind him 1,000%. Anything he needs from me, I'll be there for him. And then Huff says the next day after a football practice media availability, he then adds that Penny is the model for the rest of the coaches at the University of Memphis. Like he is basically like the standard that they look to there. And I will say those are tremendous endorsements on the part of Charles Huff, obviously, and Penny as well. And the reason why this stands out to me particularly is that, Penny Hardaway has been the head coach at Memphis for 8 seasons, men's basketball. And you didn't see this type of chemistry, this type of cohesion or collaboration between him and Mike Norvell. You especially didn't see it between him and Ryan Silverfield for 6 years. But Charles Huff has been here for less than a year, and it seems like the two biggest coaches at the University of Memphis, head football coach Charles Huff and men's basketball coach Penny Hardaway, they appear to be very close and very open to continuing, collaboration between the two most important programs on campus. Huff has said that he's apparently planning for Penny to come out and speak to the football team at some point in the year to kind of give them the wisdom of what it means to play for the Tigers. And I wonder if that means that Huff will do the same for the basketball team at some point. If you had to guess, they had, pictures of one another go viral on social media when Penny came out to that practice a couple weeks ago. So it's real, I'd say, encouraging on Memphis's part that, again, the two most important coaches on campus are, fully on the same page here.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned that picture that went viral, and you're right. Like, this is the picture that went viral. This is a badass picture. Like, when I saw this picture, shout out to whoever took it at the for the Memphis football program. This is a powerful picture to me. This is a picture that is really, really dope to see. Number one, I need to find one of those straw hats with a Memphis Tiger on it. That needs to become a part of my collection so that I can wear it out to the football games because that thing is pretty dope. But, yeah, man, it's really cool, really, really cool to see kind of that developing relationship between Charles Huff and Penny Hardaway. What you don't want, especially with where Memphis is as an athletic department, is you don't want silos, right? Like you don't want your most important teams within the athletic department to be on silos away from each other, to be separated and never shall they meet. And there's no collaboration and there's no cooperation and there's no, you don't want that. And I wonder if in some ways that's what's kind of held Memphis back over the years, over the last 8 years in particular, is that there hasn't been that kind of cooperation and collaboration and synergy, as that I love the word synergy that you used in your article, between the teams and specifically between the coaches. I would even go one step further. A lot of this comes from top-down leadership, right? Like synergy comes from the top. Like your organizational structure take on the good and the bad of the leader, right? And I'll say this to you, like I would suspect I've had the opportunity to spend time with Penny doing some podcasting stuff with him. And I remember one time we were shooting a podcast together and he got a phone call from Dr. Ed Scott, the athletic director at Memphis. And he gets off the phone and he says, man, I've talked to him more this week than I talked to Laird Veach in 6 years. And I'll say this to you, like, again, you take on the values that you take on as a department or as a team is what your top down leadership is it puts out, whether it's good, whether it's bad. And one of the things that I would say that Ed Scott has really modeled well since he's been here is we're all in this together. We're all rowing in the same direction. We're all pushing in the same direction. We're all together. We're doing this thing together. And so that synergy that you're talking about, that growing synergy between Penny Hardaway and Charles Huff, I think can be attributed to the culture and the vibes that Ed Scott is leading at the University of Memphis in the athletic department, because this is key. And I think it comes at the perfect time because conference realignment stuff is starting to kick back up. There's stuff that dropped today of Clemson and Florida State. Like, where are they going to end up? Like, there's a lot of conversations around that. And I just think that, like, there is this athletic department has to work together if they want to achieve the things that they want to achieve. And I think across the board, every single one of those coaches would tell you, our goal is to get into a Power 4 conference. Our goal is to get into one of those 4 power conferences. And so you got to do it together. You can't do it alone. You can't do it in silos. It's not Penny Hardaway's job to do it. It's not Charles Huff's job to do it. It's not Ed Scott by himself. It's not his job to do it. It's not Hannah Hayden's job to do it. It's not Brooks Monaghan's job to do it. It's not Richard Mulrooney's job to do it. It is absolutely 100% everybody coming together and building that synergy together. And so shout out, man. I love seeing it. I love seeing what Penny Hardaway and Charles Huff are building. Those 2 programs are the most important programs at the University of Memphis. Like, whatever you think, I know women's soccer has been successful. They've been incredibly successful. But if Memphis wants to get to where it wants to go, basketball and football have to be the leaders. Football has to be the leader, and basketball has to be up there too. And so shout out to Penny Hardaway and Charles Huff, man. I love it.
Yeah, and you mentioned how you like the word synergy a second ago, and synergy is not the word that I use; it's the word that Penny Hardaway used at TPC this past week. He, specifically, he said it's important to have that synergy because it just makes it easier for all of us. We all get along; nobody hates each other. We are all rooting for one another, and we all talk. So it definitely helps the entire group when it's going that way. And he's not just talking about him and Charles Huff alone when he says that, obviously. He's talking about, him and Hannah Hayden. He's talking about him and Brooks Monaghan, him and Richard Mulrooney, him and the baseball coach.
Him and Matt Reiser. You know what I'm saying? Like, those guys.
Yeah, Matt Reiser. Yeah, him and whoever. You're right in the sense that this is an incredibly important time in the Memphis athletics sector because of the position the program is currently in, the department's currently in as a whole. They are, as we've mentioned numerous times at this point, they are at full rev share for the first time in program history. They're one of only 2 group of 6 schools, the other one being South Florida, to be at full rev share in athletics. And they're clearly making that kind of investment with the goal of eventually receiving a power conference invitation. Yep. There's no other reason why Memphis would be making that kind of investment for its players, making the kind of investment it is in the Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, building a new soccer complex, building a new football academic building, all these other things. Saying the things that they are in the media, particularly Ed Scott and Charles Huff in the media, about their aspirations for something greater, if that wasn't the goal. The goal is to get to a Power 4 conference, most likely being either the Big 12 or the ACC. And for a school like Memphis that is so reliant on its community and collective engagement, and again, is so top heavy when it comes to football and men's basketball. Not to say that women's basketball doesn't matter. Not to say that women's soccer especially doesn't matter. Not to say that baseball doesn't matter. It's SEC country after all. Yeah. But football and men's basketball have to be the head of the snake.
Yes.
If Memphis wants to get where it wants to go. Mm-hmm. And, having that cohesion between the leaders of those programs having their visions being aligned, them being on the same page and not disconnected in a way that it appeared like Penny Hardaway and Ryan Silverfield were when Ryan was here, like it appeared to be at least to a degree when Mike Norvell was here. That's crucial. That's important. And you also have to extend that to Ed Scott. How much both Huff and Hardaway appear to be on the same page as him. And those three collectively being on the same page together. You know, the chances of success in terms of making it to a power conference and beyond that, just achieving the goals that Memphis Athletics wants to achieve, you know, the chances of that are only going to increase exponentially if the three most important people in the athletic department, those being Penny Hardaway, Charles Huff, Ed Scott, and particularly the two coaches there, you know, those people being on the same page is vital for Memphis right now. It's invaluable, honestly.
Yep, absolutely. Let me ask you this. This is maybe the petty side of me, the drama side of me coming out, but do you think that Penny was taking some shots at former coaches when he made those statements? Like, hey, it wasn't like this with these other guys. We've got the synergy now. Like these other coaches, there wasn't the synergy, but we got it now. You think there were some shots there at like Ryan Silverfield in particular?
I mean, I didn't exactly feel that with those comments specifically, but it doesn't take much of a brain to realize what that was, what it was between Penny and Laird Veach in the past.
Yes.
You know, it's not exactly a secret that for Penny Hardaway specifically, one of the bigger issues of the early parts of his tenure at Memphis are that the men's basketball program was incredibly disconnected from the rest of the athletic department.
Mm-hmm.
There was just a lot of tension there, in some ways a lot of resentment that for whatever reason could never be worked past on both Penny's part and their part. And it just took new faces coming in that just knew how to speak to Penny better. And they didn't have that, you know, previous resentment. They didn't have that previous jealousy or, you know, tension or whatever it is. And they were able to come into things with a bit more uplifting and objective perspective. And Penny has clearly responded to that a lot more.
Yeah.
And Penny, I think, has also just grown as well in that time. And he's realized how important it is to have better communication with people up top, better communication in the community, as he's demonstrated numerous times throughout this offseason. There's a reason why Memphis has $9 million to spend this year as opposed to 4.99 last year. And clearly a lot of that is just more investment and just a bigger budget from the athletic department, but it's also Penny going out and finding some of that money, raising some of that money, doing some of the entrepreneurial things that he simply was not doing before, as he's owned up to multiple times this offseason. So all of this, I think, is a very encouraging sign for Memphis.
Yes.
And it's particularly a very encouraging sign for Penny Hardaway ahead of what's going to be a very important season for him, for sure.
I've got one last thing to say about this topic, and we can move on. I know we've spent 24 minutes on it, so I don't want to go too much longer. I think you talk about that disconnect between Laird Veach and Penny Hardaway. And I think I know what it is. Like, as it's been a couple of years since Laird Veach has been here. And I think that there's been a clear, distinct difference between his style of leadership and Ed Scott's style of leadership since Ed Scott has been here. And I'll say, I think I know where that resentment and disconnect came from on Laird Veach's side, is that I think Penny's alluded to it. The Penny haters will bring up the fact that Memphis has spent a lot of time on probation, right? They've gotten in trouble with the NCAA over the last 5 or 6 years. And some of those things are things that Penny has done that are that maybe in some ways shows a lack of oversight as the head coach, as the CEO of the basketball program, right? But I do think there's a lot of those things, a lot of things that happened that he shoulders the blame for, that came as a result of the fact that there was a disconnect immediately from Laird Veach once Laird Veach got the job. There was a disconnect there, and I think Penny's even mentioned in the past, like, man, I didn't know what I was doing, and I really didn't have a place to go and ask questions. I didn't have a place to go and like get guidance and insight, and like, hey, can I do this or can I not? I'll give you another reason. I think some of those situations that happened that were a probationary type of situation for them were because the Memphis athletic department had a crappy compliance department. They had notoriously one of the worst compliance departments in the country. And so there were multiple things that happened that were an oversight of the compliance department that ultimately got Penny in trouble because he did things without having the guidance of a proper functioning compliance department to say, hey, you can't do that, right? Like this, let's find another way to do this instead of the way you're trying to do it. It's like, and so there's a from the top down, there was a lack of, there's a disconnect between the leadership. There was a lack of oversight into what's going on inside that basketball facility. There was a lack of knowledge on Penny's side. And then that disconnect created a lack of an ability to have a proper conversation about how things should go in the NCAA, right? There was a bad compliance department. All those folks are gone now. Like every one of those people are gone. And so the only person who remains is Penny Hardaway. And so, yes, your point is true. Penny is learning and he's growing and he's learning and understanding how to move within the NCAA now. But I also think that there is a high functioning athletic department. There's a synergy there between the athletic department and Penny Hardaway and Charles Huff. And they have a really good compliance department in there now. And so there is a buffers and layers of help now for Penny Hardaway that weren't there under the previous administration. And so it's like, and this is where I scoff at Laird Veach for having resentment towards Penny Hardaway, because if you're the NCAA guy and you're the guy that knows the rules and you're the athletic director, you're the boss of a basketball coach who clearly has the pulse of the city at his fingertips, who knows everything about what's going on here, who knows more about basketball than you ever will. If you're not like forcefully taking him under your wing and saying, let me help guide you through how to navigate these NCAA waters, if you're not doing that and then you're resenting him for making mistakes, then that like as a father, like that would be like me punishing my child for doing something without ever giving my child a better way of doing something, right? Like, hey, I'm never going to teach you how to do this, but when you do this other thing, I'm going to resent you for doing it, even though I never told you the right way to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, certainly.
Anyway.
It especially makes sense when you see the difference between what was happening with Penny and Laird Veach to what's happening right now and what's been happening with Penny and Ed Scott from the moment that the latter walked into the door. You know, when Ed Scott was hired, it was after the 23-24 season where Memphis fell apart after being ranked number 10 in the country at one point. And one of the first things that Ed Scott does is immediately comes out and backs Penny. Like, This is my guy still. Despite the struggles of last season, I'm sticking by him, right? And he's doing so again after Memphis just put up the worst season in 56 years. He's saying, you know what? I'm retaining Penny Hardaway. He deserves one more chance to get this done. And I'm going to give him every resource available and all the support that he needs for the opportunity to get it done, to get Memphis back to the NCAA tournament. Now, the vibe alongside that is that this might be Penny's last chance to do so. But Ed Scott is, giving Penny every avenue of success possible for that last chance. And that's the difference. Yes. Whether you're on the hot seat or not, whether, you've, done everything the right way, as long as you are the basketball coach or whatever, I'm giving you every opportunity possible to succeed in the role as long as you're in it. And that's what ultimately I think it comes down to. That's what Ed Scott has done consistently, whereas Laird Veach arguably did not do that. And that's certainly a change for the better for Memphis. And speaking of,
I'll say this, and we can segue. This will segue us into the next topic. Is having his back the way that Ed Scott has had Penny's back allows you to have really hard conversations. Like, it gives you that trust to know that, hey, even like, I'm going to get your back. Like, I've got you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to call you and we're going to talk and we're going to have real conversations. But when the time comes, like, we're going to have I can speak bluntly to you and it be hard conversations. And there's going to be more of a receptiveness there. Like, we saw that in the this offseason in that press conference, right? We saw this in the comments that Ed Scott made this summer about Penny's extension, right? Like, really heavy conversations, like really hard conversations, really heavy talk. Clearly a talk and conversations that have probably been even heavier behind the scenes that we don't know about, that because Ed Scott was willing to say the things that he said in front of the media about Penny Hardaway's job and his security, right? Like, but the only way you can have those kinds of conversations is if you've built the trust up over the time. And that's what I think has been done here. And so there's been, even yesterday at the Ground City Media Tigers Day, Ed Scott had some hard words, I think, for Penny Hardaway and for the basketball program. So, really interesting stuff to me.
Yeah, Ed Scott did have some very interesting things to say about Memphis basketball, about conference realignment, and all sorts of other things with Gary Parrish yesterday. And we'll get into all of that and more when we return here after this break. We'll be right back here on Beat with BCM.
Tired of the same old fast food? The soggy fries, the frozen flavors, the meals that never quite hit right. Head over to Waldo's Chicken and Beer, where everything starts fresh and flavor comes first. Our chicken is fried in rich beef tallow for that bold, old-school crunch you can actually taste. And don't skip the premium homemade southern sides, fresh greens, hearty white beans, and creamy mac and cheese made to complete the meal. Bring your whole family. There's plenty of space to relax, plus a game room the kids will love. Catch the game on big screens, grab a drink at the full bar, and enjoy happy hour specials every day from 3 to 6, all day on Tuesday and Sunday. Waldo's Chicken and Beer. Real food, real flavor, made from scratch.
In Memphis, we don't just make memories. We make moments. A Memphis-owned brewery where great beer meets great times. Crafted right here for the city we love. Live music, game days, and events all year long. There's always something happening at Grind City Brewing. Bring your crew, bring your energy, and make every night feel like a celebration. Real beer, real Memphis.
If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you think that growing older means slowing down, sleeping poorly, and lacking the motivation to do the things you want to do, then I've got just the spot for you right here in Memphis. At Game Day Men's Health, you're more than just a number. You're a partner in your health journey. From the free hour-long initial consult to comprehensive check-ins along the way, you're in complete control of your health. Offering TRT, weight loss protocols, performance enhancement, and shockwave therapy for musculoskeletal injuries, you can get back to feeling like the younger version of yourself.
At your initial visit, you'll have your blood pressure, PSA, testosterone, hemoglobin, hematocrit, all tested with your results before you leave the clinic. Plus, you have a real conversation with your provider and not just an in and out visit. Game Day can help with muscle pain, joint pain, hair loss, ED, peptides, and more. With 2 convenient locations in the Memphis area, your path to a better life is just minutes away. Call today to schedule your free one-on-one consultation.
Some dreams don't just come true, they come with 4 paws. At Puppy Dreams, we match loving families with happy, healthy puppies. From playful companions to lifelong best friends, your perfect match is waiting. And with our professional grooming spa, your pup will look as amazing as they feel. Visit Puppy Dreams today and meet the one who's been waiting just for you.
We are back on Beat with BCM. Roman Cleary, Kenny Stubblefield hosting the program this week. Thank you all for tuning into what is the 40th episode of On Beat with BCM. We normally don't keep track of the episode count on here, but I just so happened to notice as I was setting up the playlist and everything before the show that this is the 40th episode.
Shout out.
So we're 40 episodes deep into this thing, and we appreciate y'all helping this grow as the weeks and the months go on. Before we get back to things, do want to give a quick shout out to the Bluff City Beat, still, I guess you could call the new newsletter that we have here at Bluff City Media. We just dropped another edition of that this past Saturday. I was on it. Luke Hatmaker was on it. Jared Davidson was on it. They wrote some Grizzlies things. I put in some of the conference scheduling updates on the Tiger basketball side, and it's a new engaging way that we have of giving y'all the written word alongside the great digital content that we have here at BCM. So if you are interested in subscribing to the Beat, you definitely should. You can scan the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description. I would definitely recommend that because we're very excited about what lies ahead for the newsletter there.
Yep.
But Kenny,
hey, real quick, we also made an announcement today. We also made another announcement today. Bluff City Media has now partnered with Bluff City Plays, a brand new Discord betting service that was started and founded by a local Memphian, and they have grown and grown and grown. They have hundreds of people in their Discord channel, and in the last week, they have migrated under the umbrella of Bluff City Media, and there is in the description of this podcast, you will see a link where you can subscribe to be a part of the Bluff City Plays Discord channel. It is a phenomenal service. Like, the goal of this, I think, is for everybody, is for people to be able to enjoy, like, to enhance their fandom by sports betting. This is what it's become a massive part of the industry. You've seen it all over the place. We want you to have fun doing it. We want you to do it responsibly, and we want you to make money. And I can tell you, you might be asking, why should I join Bluff City Plays? They make money. Like, those guys constantly are sending me and Rusty updates on their plays, their picks, their bets that are inside of our Discord channel right now. And they are making hands over fist in dollars. And so I'm just telling you, like, they're not always going to win, but they're going to win a lot more than they lose. And so you should absolutely join. The community over there is hilarious. They're a bunch of really cool people. They're from all over the country, probably internationally as well. There's just a bunch of people in there. And yeah, it's great. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot more content coming out on our socials from those guys. You're going to see content coming out on our YouTube channel from those guys. Just a really, really cool service that, listen, we know you're already betting. We know you probably check out other people's plays. Come hang out at Bluff City Plays with those guys and get some real bets.
Yeah, I'm obviously not the biggest sports gambling expert, but I do know that we're not going to partner, especially at this level, with a company that's going to try to screw y'all over, right?
Right.
We want you to win if you engage in that kind of thing, and because it's better to win and lose, especially when a monetary gain is at stake. So yeah, if you are into the sports gambling side of things, definitely check out their plays, man. Because I'm sure they're tapped in on the scene and trying to help make y'all some money there. Interesting question here.
I want to real quick send a shout out to you because we've talked multiple times this week, and we talked even today. And I did not know you were sick, and I can tell you are struggling and fighting through your cold. And I just want to say, 40 episodes in, dude, I'm proud of the work you've put in on this show, and it pumps me up that even in the midst of you not feeling very good, because I can see it in your eyes, you don't feel very good. I'm proud of you for being here tonight, man. Shout out to you, dude. You are one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. So shout out to you, man. Congratulations on 40 episodes. You've done a really good job of building this thing out. So
I appreciate that. Let's finally answer this guy's question. What percentage of a chance do you give Penny and Huff of going 2-0 in their openers? Is it fair to say 0? Because with football, you have UNLV and Arkansas State, and that one is probably the better chance going 2-0, if we're being honest.
Well, no, I think he's saying 2-0 in both openers. So like UNLV and Iowa State. So he's not talking about the first two games. He's talking about in their openers, can they go 2-0? UNLV, Iowa State.
I mean, I think they can go and beat UNLV. The football team can definitely go and beat UNLV.
Yes.
That one is a lot more of a toss-up, even though it's in Vegas. Because we'll do more of an in-depth preview on that game next week, obviously. But it appears that those teams are a pretty even talent level.
Yes.
But you're assuming that UNLV would be the favorite there because they're at home and they have a bit more coming back from last season, and
Jackson Arnold is supposedly there, even though I'm hearing from UNLV people that nobody's been super impressive for UNLV in terms of the quarterback position during the training camp. So we'll see.
Yeah. So Memphis football certainly has a better chance, I'd say, of winning their opener. But as far as basketball goes, I mean,
Iowa State's
you're facing Iowa State on a neutral that's not really a neutral because you're in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a lot closer to Ames, Iowa than Memphis, Tennessee, obviously. And apparently, whenever Iowa State plays in Sioux Falls, from what I've heard, they travel up there very well. So it's going to be more like a home game for Iowa State as opposed to a true neutral court. Iowa State's a much more talented team than you. TJ Otzelberger, one of the best coaches in the country. When Memphis played Iowa State last time a few years ago, they got absolutely stomped in Brooklyn. I never say never, but of the potential upsets that Memphis could pull off in the non-conference basketball schedule, and I think they will pull off a few.
Yes,
but I severely doubt that Iowa State will be one of them.
I would say they are probably. I think they could probably beat Louisville in Memphis. I would put that up more than I would put them beating Iowa State in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Like that to me is that's going to be a very difficult game. But I would say also, I mean, them beating Louisville is going to be tough too because Louisville is going to be really good. So,
yeah. Well, we did allude to the Ed Scott interview with Gary Parrish that occurred yesterday, and we'll talk about that right now because I'm not going to lie, was it the juiciest Ed Scott interview of all time? No. Was it juicy by his standards? Not really. But you still got some interesting things in there for sure. He said some, interesting tidbits about conference realignment, how, he likes the group that Memphis is in with, South Florida and Boise State and the other top group of 6 candidates that could be, going out there for potential conference realignment expansion in the future. He gave his tidbits about football and the $7 meal deal and that kind of thing. But what stood out to me the most about his interview with Gary yesterday was when they got to basketball and the comments that Ed made about the non-conference schedule, because Memphis has caught a good amount of flack, apparently, for scheduling in the non-conference the way it has, and you and I discussed our thoughts on that last week. And it seems that Ed Scott agrees more or less with what we had to say, because he is fully endorsing the non-conference schedule that Memphis is putting together. He went as far as even to say, quote, "If we schedule different, we are selling Memphis short." At Memphis, you should have 2 ways of making the NCAA tournament. You should be able to make it as an at-large, and you should win the American Conference tournament. And that's kind of the competitive gist of what we said last week, right? Memphis is obviously a program that has standards and they have expectations, and they view themselves and they operate like a power conference basketball program whilst in the G6 world, right? I mean, that's kind of where Memphis is still today, even though they're not, the national contender they once were.
Right.
So you have the competitive aspect of it and the expectations and the brand that Memphis needs to maintain. And it's also, like Ed also pointed out yesterday, from an attendance standpoint, Memphis is simply Memphis's brand, while still significant, it unfortunately doesn't carry the weight anymore to justify going to see them to play Rice, to play UTSA for the average, basketball goer. You have to have incentive to choose Tyleik Weeks and the Memphis Tigers over Cam Boozer and the Memphis Grizzlies if you are making that choice, like many Memphians are these days, like many Memphis suburban families are these days. You have to have incentive to make that decision for the Memphis Tigers. And part of that decision is like the opponent. You have to have intriguing teams that Memphis is opposing on the court. And Memphis has those with Louisville, VCU, Grand Canyon. Even though Grand Canyon's not like the biggest name, anyone who knows anything about college basketball knows, Grand Canyon has been one of the most consistent mid-major programs in the country ever since Bryce Drew was hired over there. So you have like challenging, compelling home games to potentially sell tickets. And you need those because the American Conference home schedule is just not going to provide that stuff for you. And Ed Scott, much like we did last week, he kind of dismissed any detractors of Memphis scheduling the way it does, in the non-league portion of its basketball slate. Memphis has to, have that schedule by necessity. If they get to a power conference one day, maybe the non-conference can be a bit more like a cupcake sort of portion of the season, because you'll have more quad 1 and quad 2 and high-profile opportunities in a Big 12 schedule or an ACC schedule. But until Memphis gets out of the American, this is the way they simply have to schedule in the non-conference, and Ed Scott seems to agree with that point of view.
Yeah, I think Ed Scott was he was saying basically like I concur with the idea that we have to have a hard non-conference. But the juiciest part for me about his comments yesterday was that it felt like he took real umbrage with Memphis fans. And I agree with him 100%. Because he said basically there was and I'll paraphrase it. You probably have the quote right in front of you, where he talked about, like, you can come up to me and you can tell me all day long you don't want Memphis to schedule this tough. But if we don't, you're not coming to the games, right? Like, if we don't, you're not coming to the games. And so when we do schedule these games, these hard games, your butt better be in the stands. Like, you can't have it both ways, basically, is what he said. You can't complain when they schedule too hard, and then complain when they schedule too soft, right? Like, and I just think it is I've said this before, and I'll say this again on this show. Memphis fans, if you want to be considered a Power 4, a power conference school, the Memphis fans need to respond like power conference fans. Like, you need to come and support your teams. You need to be there. And instead of looking for reasons to not go, looking for reasons to complain, looking for reasons to be out, looking for reasons to do all that, like, support what they're trying to do here, right? Like, it might not always go perfectly. You might have a fall off game. You might lose your first game to Iowa State. Memphis football might lose its first game to UNLV in Las Vegas. But does that mean that the next weekend against Arkansas State at home that the game shouldn't be supported, that this team shouldn't be supported? No. But there is a level of that concern, I think, with Memphis fans, because that happens a lot. Like, look for reasons to be out, and then as soon as one of those little parameters are met to be out, you're out. And I like that he was very blunt about, you can't have it both ways. You can't ask me to schedule tough and then not show up when we do. You can't ask me to schedule. You can't complain about the hardness of the schedule and then not show up during conference play. Like, you've got to be there. You've got to support this team, because we have a stated goal and a direction in which we're trying to get, but you got to be there to support them. So I likened it last night on the Bluff with Ed Scott was in a honeymoon relationship with Memphis fans for the first couple of years that he's been here. It's been very, like, encouraging and rah-rah and all this. And it feels like he's hit that point now where he's like, man, I've got the cachet. I've got the staying power. And I've been here long enough to where now I can have hard conversations with Memphis fans too. Like, stop doing this. Like, support these teams, support these guys. Don't look for reasons to be out. Look for reasons to buy in. Like that I love that.
Yeah. I mean, you can certainly see the frustration on his part there, because when you got a guy like Ed who promotes Memphis the way he does and, makes the kind of strides for this athletic department that he undeniably has, whether it was making the biggest conference realignment offer in college sports history or getting Memphis to full rev share this year,
getting
putting $9 million
funding, getting stadium funding across.
Putting $9 million into the basketball program that Memphis fans said for over a year that he was actively taking away from, even though that's been proven to be false.
Debunked like 17
many times over.
I don't know how many more times we have to say this and how he has to say this. Like, that's just not true. Like, it's not true. Go ahead.
But for Ed to do those things for this university, for this athletic department in such a short amount of time, and yet the support, at least in terms of an attendance standpoint, it's not even close to where it needs to be. Yep. Yeah, it's that stuff is certainly disheartening. And if Memphis really wants to be a power conference school and they want to aspire for that kind of reputation, that kind of image, that has to change to a degree. Yes. And I know that getting into the Big 12 and having that schedule would probably fix a lot of those issues immediately. But if you want that, you have to try to fix it now. Like, that's the reality. You have to think about the potential for what that schedule could become as opposed to what it is right now. Like, yeah, is it super fun to go watch Memphis play against Rice and Tulane and South Florida, UTSA, East Carolina, all these teams? No, it's not the most compelling product in the world. No one's saying that it is. But if you want the home games one day against Kansas, against Texas Tech, against Iowa State, against Gonzaga, whoever it might be, right? That's you have to endure those first. That's just part of the process. that Memphians and Memphis fans are not exactly processing, I guess. And that's really the point that Ed is making more than anything. And it's not really a criticism as opposed to more of a challenge, more of a, hey, I've stepped up for you. You need to step up for me now.
Yeah.
And as Ed noted during the interview yesterday, there were going to be times where he asked Memphis to stand up. And times like this are what he's talking about.
Yep.
He needs the fan base to show up for Arkansas State, no matter what happens in the UNLV game, right? Because it would be more than ideal for Memphis to have a good turnout for the first game in the newly renovated football stadium.
Yep.
No matter like what the circumstance is with what happened in UNLV or the quality of team that Arkansas State is or whatever, Memphis fans need to show up to that game just because of the importance of the event that is surrounding it. And they need to, if Memphis wants to get to where it wants to go, it would certainly be ideal for Memphis if the Tigers fans continue to show up weekly after that. And then that continues into the basketball season at the Forum, even though there's a lot of logistical problems associated with basketball that football is not constrained by, right? You can certainly see the frustration and the tiredness that Ed has associated when it comes to attendance, because there's all this talk about Memphis being more than deserving of a power conference invitation because of what they've done as an athletic department. And you're right. I mean, they certainly they've won it the way that they need to, and they spend the money that they need to, and all this other stuff. But if the fan attendance, particularly in your most important sports, is not matching that, that's just going to work against you simply.
Yeah. I feel like this whole episode has been a Glaze Ed Scott episode, but he's doing a good job, and I don't apologize for us highlighting the good things that are happening and challenging, Memphis fans to step up and support this athletic department. But yeah, no, I'm excited, man. We got 10 days until they kick off the football season on week 0 against UNLV, and it is going to be a blast. I was sitting down and talking with a couple of guys that are content creators for Bluff City Media today, and we're super excited about some of the content coming out about the Memphis Tiger football program. So y'all stay locked in with us, man. It's going to be a fun season. We've made it through the dark days of off season. We're only a week away or 10 days away from kicking the games off. And once that happens, Roman, it is nonstop until March or April, hopefully. So it'll be a fun time, man.
Yeah, certainly. And like I said earlier, we will do more of a full-on preview of that UNLV game on the show next week. Before we get out of here, I did want to touch on some pretty significant American Conference basketball news.
Yep.
That did come out today while you were out at Grind City Brewing, so I didn't know if you caught this.
I did.
But Kenyon Giles, the Wichita State guard, is going to be returning to the Shockers next season, provided that he is eligible, which he currently is based off of the current 22 injunction. But that may change. But right now, the current assumption is that he is planning to return to Wichita State. And Kenyon Giles was one of the best players in the American this past season, the best three-point shooter in Wichita State program history, and one of the most dangerous players in the American in general. And this turns a Wichita State team that already added Jordan Friesen earlier in the offseason and brought back guys like Michael Gray and TJ Williams and Will Berg, adding Kenyon Giles potentially to that nucleus. Like, Wichita State was already going to be most likely Memphis's biggest threat for the American Conference title this season. And now adding Kenyon Giles back to the mix
They might be the
You know,
favorites. They might be the
yeah.
favorites. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they could very well be the favorite. Not necessarily because like they're more talented than Memphis, which I don't know if they are, but they have the most significant returning pieces in the conference.
Right.
There's no denying that across the board. And if you couple that with a backcourt of Kenyon Giles and Jordan Friesen, yeah, it's small, but those are two guys that can really fill it up from a scoring standpoint. You have a dominant big man in Will Berg, two talented scorers in Michael Gray, TJ Williams, another really good point guard option at 6'5", and Jahari Long from George Mason. I mean, I've given a lot of praise to Paul Mills for the job he's done over the past couple of years at Wichita, and the fact that they've just continued to get better every single year he's there. The trouble they've given Memphis in the past. This really appears to be the year where Wichita State is making the push to perhaps becoming an NCAA tournament caliber team again. And if Memphis is going to win the American Conference this season and get back to the NCAA tournament, Wichita State, by all accounts, is probably going to be their biggest obstacle there.
Yep, I agree. Shout out to Wichita State. It'll be fun to see a talented Wichita State team because their home court advantage is also pretty awesome. They're a fun team to go and play on the road. Memphis struggles with them on the road. So we'll see, man. It'll be fun to have a team that probably is going to add some depth and quality. And exactly right. I was going to ask, they might have a Kenyon Giles, but do they have a Jalma Dovar on their team? Do they have a Jalma Dovar?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say that Wichita State is the definitive favorite.
No.
Like some people will. Because I know what the computers say, and again, Wichita State has the most significant returning pieces, including Kenyon Giles for now. But I like what Memphis has. I do. And I'm just not going to discount that until they give me a reason to.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Yeah. I mean, you have a 24-year-old Serbian professional as your starting big man. And it's hard to envision most American Conference teams having better than that.
Yeah.
You have Tyleik Weeks, who was a top 40 scorer in the entire country last season with literally no one else on his team, really, at Southern Miss. You have Jaden Reed, who has experience winning in this conference. You have Brandon Cummings, who, has been struggling a bit throughout the summer workouts, but he's coming off season-ending injury. And he was once upon a time the leading scorer on an ACC team. Like, those things cannot be discounted. You have Rahards Vavers, one of the best three-point shooters in college basketball this past season. You have Luke Almodovar, who is continuing to stand out more and more.
Jalma Dovar, thank you. Get it right.
Jalma Dovar.
Thank you.
Where does Jalma Dovar come from?
He's our Madovar.
I see. Yeah, I see.
He's our Madovar.
Yeah, I see. I mean, I'm not exactly sure why the computers are so low on this Memphis team. Like, I just don't really see it. Like, 110th in the preseason at Bar Torvik, it just feels low to me. It just does.
Hell yeah.
If Memphis is not a top 100 team in the country this season, I'd be pretty surprised based off the roster they have.
Yeah.
But that's where things stand, and Wichita State is.
I'll say this
the
about
biggest challenger for sure.
I'll say this about non-conference schedule, about Wichita State. I'll say this about all. It's a good damn thing that the computers don't play the games, right? Like, it's a good damn thing. It's not a computer simulation, right? You got to get out there and you got to play. And I like what this team is doing. I think this Tigers team is going to be a better team than what these computers are saying that they're going to be. So, shout out, man. I'm excited. It'll be a fun season, especially. And I like it that they have some like legit excitement around other teams in the American. The American has, like, Charlotte's going to be actually pretty decent this year. Like, I don't know how
Yeah.
good they're going to be, but they're going to be better. Like, they're going to be better. So
Yeah, no, there's a lot of juice surrounding Charlotte after they hired Wes Miller and got Jizzle James from Cincinnati as well. South Florida is reloading pretty decently under Chris Mack. The American is going to be very top heavy this year with
yes,
Memphis and Wichita, I think, being the two best teams. And you have Charlotte, Wichita right there. UAB is always going to be in the mix because Andy Kennedy. And I know Matt and Bole caught a lot of flack for his trash talk earlier this offseason, but I think he'll be one of the best bigs in the league for sure. Tulane's always going to be tricky because of Ron Hunter. Let's see if he actually has the roster to work with this year.
Yeah.
In recent years he has not, but whenever he has good players, he usually wins. So we'll see what Tulane's able to do there. I actually think there's a decent chance the American is better than it was last year. It's still not going to be good. It's not going to be a good league, but it could be better than it was this past season. That's not worth nothing. And potentially a more exciting season at least for American Conference basketball this year. And this show has weirdly been very basketball centric, considering the time of the calendar lately. But I'd like to think that will change at least a little bit next week, because we will be just a few days out at this time next week from the football opener against UNLV. We will really dive into the ins and outs of that game, who we think is going to win, what we're looking for on the field, and just the general excitement surrounding the Charles Huff era officially opening up next week. That will be the main focus when we go on the air here at 7. And that will be super fun, I imagine. But that's going to do it for this week's edition of On Beat with BCM. Hopefully my voice is in better shape by the time we get to next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. Be sure to, again, subscribe to the Bluff City Beat. If you haven't already, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Turn on your notifications so you know when we go live for any of our shows, including this one. But for everyone else here on the Bluff City Media Network and for Kenny Stubblefield, this is Roman Cleary signing out. We will see you all next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of On Beat with BCM. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to the Bluff City Media YouTube page. We'll see you back here next time.